Go.
Good afternoon. So, how many of you have heard of the story of the Three Little Pigs? Very good. So you all know the story. Is there anyone who doesn't know the story? Raise your hand if you don't know the story of the Three Little Pigs. Very good. So what I'm going to do is I have these pictures of pieces of the Three Little Pigs that I'm going to hand out to one person in each of your groups at your table. And what I want you to do is look at your picture, and then once all of the papers are handed out to every single table, I'm going to tell you off may start, and you're going to sequence yourself in the order that the pictures go in. So it's the Three Little Pigs story, just little snippets of it, and you're just going to stand in your spots that you normally stand in, and you are going to order yourself in the correct way. So I'm going to come around and hand these. You can start looking at them, but don't get up until I say you may go. And there are 6 scenes, so some people will have 2, so I'm going to give you 2. And you're just going to have to figure out where it goes exactly. So does anyone have any questions about that, or does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. Good? 6, good job. And make sure that you're not looking at other people's. You want to do this by yourself, so in your group. So if someone gets it right, you don't want to look at their answer. Oh, and once you have it done, I want you all to stand there quietly and raise your hands. And once the whole group's hands are raised, me or Mr. O will come around and make sure that you've done it correctly. And you may all begin.
So I go last.
Once you're done, raise your hands. Okay. Very good. So put your papers in the stacks on your desks and then go sit in the meeting area. Oh, okay. All of you guys. Perfect. So just put it on your desk and go sit quietly in the meeting area. Did I check your shit?
Yes. See?
Good. Perfect. Put it in there and go sit silently in the meeting area. Okay, I'm going to wait for your whole group to be here. Very good. Put it on your desk. Go to the meeting area. Got the last ones. Ready? Very good. Perfect. Sit down and we're going to go to the meeting area. So now that we understand the order of the events in the Little Pigs, I just wanted to make sure you all remembered it. We're going to be talking about point of view today. So what are the 2 main points of view that we talk about? Yes?
First point of view and third point of view.
And so who's the character in the story if they're are they in the story or not in the story if they're first point of view? Yes.
First point of view. As a person in the story.
And then third person? Yes.
They're not in the story, but they're like telling the story.
Yeah, very good. So does anyone know what the original Three Little Pigs story was told from? First or third point of view? Go ahead.
First.
Was it first point of view? Are you sure?
It was third.
Do you remember the pictures you were looking at?
Yeah.
There were a few that didn't have quotations, and that's how we can tell, correct?
Yeah.
So was it first or third person?
Third.
can get a little confusing with the quotations, but it was third point of view, and it was a character from a narrator telling the story from outside of it. So I have a new perspective of the Three Little Pigs.
I've read this.
How many of you read this? Raise some hands.
I have.
Oh, most of you. Okay.
So
Well,
funny.
we're going to read it again. That's okay. And this is from the wolf's point of view. So, this is called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs by A. Wolf. Yep. The True Story of the Three Little Pigs by A. Wolf. Dear reader, there has obviously been some kind of mistake. It's been 10 years now since I first explained what happened to those three little pigs, but I'm still in the pen. Maybe the warden just hasn't had a chance to look into the whole mess yet. I'm sure everything will be taken care of once he hears my side of the story. I mean, why wouldn't I be set free? I've been a model prisoner. There was that small problem with the cake my granny sent to me. I don't know how a saw got in there. It must have fallen off the tool shelf and into the frosting like she said. And then there was that confused little girl in the Red Riding Hood, saw my picture in the paper. Then she made up some tale about me dressing like her granny and scaring her with what big eyes I have and what big teeth I have. Crazy. Would I do something like that? I think the answer to that is in the letters I get from all over the world. Mr. Wolf, you are innocent. Bobby Lobo, Lupine, Texas. Monsieur Wolf, you should be free. Ellie Loop, Paris, France. And then something in Japanese, I can't read that though. And then that's it, the true story. 10 years later, straight from the wolf's mouth. So now that you know, maybe you could put in a good word or two for me? Something like, free A. Wolf now? Really? A. Wolf. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. So what do you think? Think about it by yourself. What do you think is going to be different in this story than the other one? And then raise your hand when you're ready. John.
Maybe the wolf is going to be all innocent and he was not going to do it, and maybe he had like sneaks to go down the house.
That could be. Any other ideas? Priya?
Maybe he's going to say, I didn't do it, but maybe he really did do it.
That could be, definitely.
Maybe he did something method about the pigs. That way he was like going to do something really bad, but actually he was doing nothing to them.
Yeah, definitely. Let's read on and see. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bag wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bag wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Sneeze and sugar. What do you think that could be about? Why do you think a sneeze and sugar? Archie?
Maybe he's gonna make a cake.
That could be. Let's read on and see. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. Trying to make a cake, but no sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house of straw? Would any of you build a house of straw?
Yeah. Like a tree of
What if the wind came though to knock it over? So of course the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed, and I snuffed, and and I sneezed a great sneeze. Uh-oh.
The pig's still in there.
Oh, the pig. Oh no. What's gonna happen to the pig? And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down, and right in the middle of the pile of the straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time.
That's bad.
It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying right there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. Would you eat that cheeseburger?
No, if it was on the ground.
Yeah, he's a vegetarian, so you won't eat it, but I will.
So I was feeling a little bit better, but I still don't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house of sticks. Stickers. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, go away, Wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs off on my chinny chin chin. Looks like a human right there, doesn't he?
Yeah. But he has like a pink nose.
I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell in just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail, Wolf's honor. Oh no. What do you think's going to happen to the third pig?
He's gonna eat him.
You think he's going to eat him? Let's see. Maybe he won't. Now, you know, food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house of bricks. A little bit smarter.
Yeah.
I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And you know what the little rude porker answered? Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again. Why do you think the third pig would say that? How do you think he's feeling right now? Yes, Julia. Why is that?
Well, maybe he found out that he blew down his brother's house because he already knows what happened to last
Yeah, and how would you feel if both of your brothers had died by this person? And now? Yeah?
Very sad.
Very sad, yeah. So you wouldn't want to let him in your house because you'd be scared that maybe he'd eat you? Yeah.
I would maybe be a bit mad if someone tried to eat my brother.
That's true. That's not a good thing. Okay. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup for my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig! I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday cake card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Then the third pig yelled, and your old granny can sit on a pin! Third pig's not very nice, is he?
Nope.
No.
Not being the nicest. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down this pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. Making a scene at the house. See, he did. Yep. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the two pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down. And they made me the big bad wolf. That's it, the real story. I was framed. How would you feel if you were in the wolf's? Yes.
I wouldn't be very happy about that because that's not really what happened.
Definitely. Doesn't feel good to be framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar.
Really?
He's old, so his mother's
Yeah.
gone.
And that's the true story of the three little pigs. Very good.
He has a beard.
So, we were talking about point of view a little bit. And that was from the wolf's point of view. So what point of view is that?
First point of view.
First person. Good job. So, we've heard the story from third person, from a narrator, from first person, from the wolf. What about the pig's point of view? You think that would differ a little bit?
Yeah.
Let's say it's from the littlest pig. So, this is the three little pigs continued. And what we're going to do is, I wrote down the first thing. So, in this scenario, what's going to be happening is the little pig is talking to his brothers about the wolf coming over for dinner because they decided he was a nice person. So, I wrote down the first one, and it says, one second, let me speak this up here. It says, "He blew down my house. Why would we want to have him over for dinner?" I asked my older brother. So, can someone give me something that maybe the older brother would say back to the little brother? Yes, what, SBA?
Because maybe he did it on accident.
So what would he say if I was writing a quote of what he said? So I said from the little pig, "He blew down my house. Why would we want to have him over for dinner?" How would the older brother respond to that?
Maybe he wasn't really meant to do that to do that.
That could be. So something like, maybe it was just an accident.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
Let's write that then. Maybe it was just an accident. He wasn't trying to hurt us. Is that what we want to say? Replied, "My brother," because it's from his point of view, right? From the little pigs. Good. So does anyone have, maybe the second pig could say it, or someone else? What do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to take another, I don't want to, risk it. I don't want to risk it.
I don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
So who's saying that?
The,
The first or the second pig? Because this is from the little pig, this is from the oldest pig. The little? Okay, and one more sentence. What would the second brother say to all of this, do you think? Someone I haven't called on that. Yes, Isaiah?
Stop all this fighting.
Stop all this fighting? Well, should we have a wrap up, something with, so is the wolf actually going to come over for dinner or not? What do you think? Should he come over or not?
Stop all this fighting. The wolf is coming over.
Okay, sounds good to me. So what would we say here? My middle brother said. He's frustrated with the fighting. Okay, so let's read this. The three little pigs continued. He blew down my house. Why would we want to have him over for dinner? I asked my older brother. Maybe it was just an accident. He wasn't trying to hurt us, replied my brother. I don't want to risk it, I exclaimed. Stop all this fighting. The wolf is coming over for dinner, my middle brother yelled. So how does this show the differences between having different narrators? Like, what is the point of having different narrators in a story? Yes.
When it's first person point of view, you only really get the thought of the person who's telling the story. But when it's third person, you you see everybody's thoughts.
Yeah, and that's definitely important, especially when they're going back and forth and they have completely different perspectives, right? So now that we've gone over 2 first persons and a third person, I have a worksheet for all of you to do back at your desks, and I'm going to hand them out over there as you head back, and it's just over point of view. Oh, well actually first let's go over it here. I forgot about that. Sorry. Yes? Oh, thank you. Here, I'll show you what it looks like first. Maybe not. Yes?
I read a book, it's called The Big Bad Pig. It's like the pig and the wolf first switched around. Oh yeah, it's really funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Okay, so here's the worksheet I'm going to have you have point of view practice. And in the beginning, it says, write the clue words in the box where they belong. So let's do 2 of these together. And this is going to be a blind survey, so I want everyone to close their eyes and think about the word and think of where it's going to go, and then hold up a 1 or a 3. So where would me go? Everyone close your eyes. Make sure everyone's eyes are closed and don't hold them up yet. Everyone's eyes closed. Okay, and hold up your finger. 1 or 3. Where does me? Okay, very good. So the majority said first person. Because how do we know that? Yes?
Because it would be like, if I was in the story, it would say I and me.
Very good. So this is first person. You got me. And you gotta cross it off. And then what about she? Everyone close your eyes. Once everyone's eyes are closed, raise up a 1 or a 3 for she. 1 or a 3. Everyone raise your hands, 1 or a 3. She, the word she, so raise your hands. There we go. Everyone said 3. Yep, most everyone said 3, so let's put she in this one. So does this part make sense? You understand how to do that? I'm just going to cross out, right? The next part is just multiple choice. So you're going to read the sentence, and then you're going to choose first or third person. And you're just going to circle that answer. And then after you circle your answer, you're going to underline the clue words that help you determine the point of view. So I, me, all of those words. And you're going to underline those to make sure you understand that. And then there's one more section. So this section, you're going to read the sentence and write the point of view on the line right here. And then you're going to write, how do you know that? So, let's read this one together. She did not like to always be the last person chosen for the team. So, what point of view is this? Someone raise your hand. Yep.
Third person.
Third person? Yep. So that's third person, and how do you know this? What is the language we're supposed to talk in that Mr. O always tells us about? How do we know that? Yes, go ahead.
Because it says she.
How else can we say that? Isn't there a poster or something around the room that tells us how we should say it? Nada?
Right there.
Yeah, what does it say? Is the narrator a character or not a character? Yep, the narrator is not a character in the story. So I want you to use that language when you're filling this out. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so everyone can head back to their desk and I'll hand it out as you come back. It's on the table over there, so you can go grab it. And raise your hand if you have any questions about words You can talk to your neighbors if you need to, just about the worksheet though. And you can also raise your hand, I will come around and help. Characters in the story.
Maybe not that.
What would you say if you were telling a story? Would you say they or not? Because it's not about yourself or you don't know. So could you say that? Oh, here we go. This. Which one? Her. So, would you call yourself her if you were telling a story? Would you say, I went to the grocery store? No? So where do you think it goes? Very good.
Right here, she did not want to be on. She did not want to be in the last one. Yeah. That'd be third person.
Did we talk about it in reading?
Third person.
Yep. Good job. Yeah.
Did you say the underline the keyboard?
Yes. So like the clue words that you wrote up here, there it is. Yeah, make sure everyone in the second part you're underlining the clue words. I see some people are missing that part. Make sure you're underlining. Yep, there you go. There you go. Also make sure that your name is written on the top of the paper and that your number is so. Somehow. Remember how we talked about it up there? What did you say? You didn't say, please. So what's your number? But what else? How else do you know? She's not in this room. She's not in this room. Yeah, very good. So you want to write, you can say she is a keyword, but also you want to write the narrator is not in this room. Yes. Yes. Huh? You didn't underline the words. You have to underline the words, remember? Yes.
First person and third person.
What do you mean?
What was it? Like,
So isn't this one a character that's for this one and this one a character that isn't?
so the narrator is not in the
Just, okay, once you're done with your paper, just set it on your desk and put your pencil down, and I will come around and collect them in a second. Just to make sure everyone has their name. In the story and not in the story. You can use these clue words to figure it out, right? Because you just organize them. Does that help? Yes, you can.
how do you know? Technically, because it says she did not like.
But also, is the narrator in the story or not in the story? Should we say?
Because the narrator is not in the story.
Good job. writing if you're not done. Oh, you forgot to do the equivalents. You have to underline them. Yep. And I'm gonna start handing out mints. Everyone is finished, and then as you all finish up, I'll hand them out to you too. There you go. Oh, very good. Good job. You may eat them if you'd like. Then just wait for everyone to finish up and then we'll move on to science. Thank you for throwing out your trash when you're done. Very good. Thank you.
Good. Good stop. More. Good stop. Okay.